Hello everyone, I'm Justin, and for today's video, we're joining the problem children in another world. Today, I want to talk about a forgotten anime from the isekai genre that is almost never talked about, even though for me, it depicts exactly what the genre is about. OP characters fighting against demon lords in a fantasy setting. Yes, today we're talking about a short anime called Problem Children Are Coming From Another World, aren't they? Or Mondaiji in the Japanese name. This 10-episode anime focuses on 3 problem children, quote-unquote, as they are teenagers, all having different types of psychic powers that make their lives dull and boring. Suddenly, they are transported to another world called the Little Garden, and they are tasked by a bunny girl called Black Rabbit, again quote-unquote as she has blue hair and sometimes pink hair, to save her community as they have lost everything. Their territory, banner, and even their name to other communities, calling themselves No Name. Now to explain this further, basically you need to imagine the world of No Game No Life, but without race division and more mythical beings and folklore. You have Greek gods and monsters like the Gorgon, and on the other hand there is the Pied Piper of Hamelin, controlling hordes of rats. Then we have the 3 main children. Isayoi, an arrogant, violent, but intelligent boy with an unknown gift that makes him incredibly strong. Asuka, a young Ujo-sama with the ability to command people and objects at will. And Yo, an introverted animal lover with the ability to communicate and use their abilities of animals that she befriends. Now keep in mind that usually people get their abilities after arriving to another world, but in this case, they already live with their abilities for their whole life, making their lives boring, as for example in Asuka's case, nobody could go against her orders. This makes the story more interesting because we see the kids joining a world full of fantasy and powers, which makes them having to fight and meet someone stronger than them for the first time in their lives, which proves to be an interesting vehicle for the story progression as well as to develop the characters. Now, as for the world building, I got to say that it is interesting but really confusing. There is this world full of different communities that control territories in a world that basically is a circle divided in 7 gates. The closer you are to the first gate, the stronger you are. Aside from that, the strongest communities have a demon lord as their leader, who have this type of divinity that is not really that well explained in the anime, but usually they have a power as host masters that forces communities to participate in gift games. Now, what are gift games, you ask? Well, they are this type of game in which you can set any rules you want and wager whatever you want. From land to the banner to the name of their communities, to even the gifts that represent each person's ability. And again, this stuff is really confusing because the games can be anything from a simple card game to a fight between communities and even a riddle quest where you have to clear specific requirements in order to win the game. Moving on to the characters. As I said, I think the characters are well fleshed. They are not just mindless or horny teenagers with OP abilities, but rather people with their own characteristics and problems that grow during the course of the story. Of course, there are still some tropes like a bit of a perfect character and the usual fan service swimsuit episode, because they are necessary to catch the attention of the major audience. But aside from that, there is nothing to complain about. And even the characters that appear later on, like the vampire blonde girl that can grow to an adult size and is definitely not a copy of Shinobu, or the salamander girl with a bit of the revealing clothes, still show an interesting addition to the cast. As for the fight scenes, I'm sure that even if you have never heard of this anime, you have at least seen the fight scene between Isayoi versus the Gorgon and Laius. I remember watching it for the first time in one of those anime MVs and I immediately searched for this anime. Just showing how OP he can be, doing some casual punches and kicks, and destroying the Gorgon was so cool for me at the time. And even to this point, I still think the fight scenes still hold up compared to other medium quality productions of the time. But I want to explain what I said when I mentioned this forgotten isekai. First of all, this anime came out in January of 2013, almost 10 years ago. And after 10 episodes plus an OVA run, there hasn't been anything else. Of course, the light novel is still going strong, with 12 volumes for the first part and currently 8 volumes for the second part called The Last Embryo. I personally haven't read any of the light novels, but from the names of the volumes, I assume that the anime covers the first 4. So we could easily have a few more seasons, but at this point, it looks like there won't be anything else, as I don't see anyone talking about this anime or the newest light novel volumes anywhere. But at least we had a good anime to enjoy. I don't really want to give too much of the plot away in case you want to give it a try, but if you're looking for a good isekai with OP characters that have some real development, as well as waifu material and interesting world building, I recommend you to give this one a try. And with that said, we come to the conclusion of this anime review. Who was your favorite girl from this show? Let me know in the comments below. Until then, see you guys next time.